Hello and welcome to another episode of Build a Beast. We've got a special day lined up for you. We are continuing the journey of leveling up our life together. Last week we were tackling the topic of mindset. On a holistic macro level, we are trying to master the energy equation. Our elite coaches that we've had on air with us this season are absolute masters of what they've considered the energy equation of how can we maximize our time, our energy, and our efforts throughout the day. So we've gone through physical hacks, all types of best practices and habits around our body, and now we're tapping into our mindset, how this affects us. So really excited to jump into this episode. Drop a quick little comment if you're hanging out with us. We are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch and Facebook, thanks to Restream. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Fire it up. Super excited for this episode of Build a Beast with Alyse. She's back again. Welcome to the show. All right, folks, she is the CEO of Own It, and has been helping us by sharing her master expertise in the world of mindset. Please welcome Alyse Gaulin to the show. Welcome to the party. How are you?
Hi, Travis. So happy to be here again with you today. Last week was just awesome, and I can't wait to continue the conversation we were having.
Likewise. I know people had brilliant feedback from last week's episode. Many people went through and jumped into the replay. And there was, a lot of tips there for essentially setting the foundation of this. A lot of people think action items, but before even getting to the action items, there was this critical piece of awareness and relating that awareness to energy levels. So could we go ahead and let's just kind of recap a little bit of last week, and then we can jump into how we convert that awareness into action, which is our episode here today.
Yeah, let's do it. So, a great idea recapping. I'd love to kind of walk everybody again through what it is we chatted about last week. So we really focused on generating awareness, because that is the first step, right? I said last week, if we don't have awareness, we don't have anything. And then this week, if all we have is awareness, we don't have anything either, right? We have to be able to do something with it. So let's start with awareness. Really want to just, in a nutshell, talk about the 7 levels of energy. So I have here shared on my screen kind of a breakdown of what this means. So as you can see here, and this is really what we dove into, so I encourage you to go back and watch it from last week, what these 7 levels of energy here mean. So there's 2 main types of energy. There's anabolic and there's catabolic energy. Catabolic energy is stress related. Anabolic energy is non-stress related. So I want you to think of this chart as a continuum, where level 1 in the center is the highest level of stress, lowest level of consciousness. And as we go up this chart, our consciousness increases and our stress decreases. So by having awareness of how we're showing up in each one of these 7 levels, it really allows us to generate that not only generate that awareness, but with what I'm going to walk you through today, we figure out, okay, now we have this awareness. What do I do with it? How do I choose a different energy level? And the beauty about this is every thought, feeling, action, emotion, experience, whatever it may be, whatever it is we have can be applied to one of these 7 levels of energy. So to run them through you quickly here, level 1 and level 2 are both catabolic. I want you to think of this as fight or flight energy. So level 1 is that flight, level 2 is that fight. These two serve a purpose, absolutely, because these are our survival mode. But as humans, when we apply all this meaning to it, it manifests as stress, which oftentimes can really hold us back and take us to that catabolic place when we perceive there to be conflict or a stressful situation. Levels 3 through 7 are anabolic. Level 3, I like to call this the Band-Aid mode. This is where you kind of slap a band-aid on whatever's happening in level 1 and 2. Don't really want to process it, don't really want to think about what's going on, have to do whatever it is I'm doing to assure a win and just keep moving forward. That's that level 3. Level 4, moms and dads out there, this is that service energy. This is that compassion energy. This is where we put others ahead of ourselves. There's a lot of good in this because it feels good to help people, to have other people come to us. And then levels 5, 6, and 7 are the highest levels of energy. Level 5 is that opportunistic win-win mindset, right? Where do I see opportunities? Where do I continue to learn from what it is that I may be doing on a day basis? Level 6 is what I call that flow state energy. I know we've all been in that place where it's 1 o'clock, we look up, wow, 4 hours went by. I didn't even realize 4 hours went by. It was so present, engrossed in the moment. That's that level 6 energy. And of course, that's a great energy level to be in. And then level 7 is that absolute passion or ultimate consciousness.
Love it. No, and this was so brilliant, at least for me specifically, to be able to. This is something you kind of intuitively know, like having a good day and a bad day and good energy, bad energy, just from interactions we have day to day. But seeing this in a system and actually attaching each of those energies to a specific level is something I know I appreciated it, just having the visual element of it. Nice. I just saw your VIP guest just took a seat back there. Oh, love it. I had to full screen it just to get there's our second star of the show here, ladies and gentlemen.
He's the real star of the show, let's be honest.
Love it. But no, thank you so much. Yeah, if there's anything to recap, I think what we went into last week, our homework was really zeroing in on that awareness. So those of you that were with us last week, any possible ways of tuning into what energy you're currently at, or just starting to be more aware of those moments, those triggers, was really our only homework. And now this week we're going into how to convert that awareness into action. So this is what we're here for to unpack here in this episode. So thank you guys for joining us. If you were here for both, no problem at all. If you're just joining for this one, feel free to jump in the comments. This is just very open, live coaching kind of experience that we're sharing with y'all. So if you have any specific situations or questions that you want to ask, the line is always open. But I'm going to go into learner mode here as we step into our next little unit here from Alyse.
Love it. So one of the really interesting things, and again, I have something on my screen here I want to share with you. So one of the super interesting things is, as I mentioned last week, I mentioned again today, is that awareness is the first step. It's where it all begins. So let's talk about awareness, what it means, how we can start to generate it, right? Because we have a tangible place to put that awareness. We now have those levels 1 through 7, right? So I have an awareness. I can now identify how it is that I'm showing up. So this is what I call the 5 phases to action. Before we get into those 5 action steps or those five stages, I want to talk about where awareness comes from. So we have general experiences that are happening in our life, right? That day after day, pretty much every minute of our life, we're generally experiencing something. Oftentimes we apply meaning or beliefs to these experiences. These beliefs then generate our thoughts, which generate our emotions, which ultimately generates our actions and the ending result. So what does this mean? Oftentimes we don't generate awareness until that middle step, until the emotion sets in, right? We're not, as humans, we're not walking around saying, what are my experiences and what meaning am I applying to it and what's my belief? Like, that's not how we operate, right? We're human beings with emotions who, as a result, are acting and showing up in a certain way, in a way that we may be showing up. So although we're already halfway through the chain, we're halfway through the process to taking action and generating results. The awareness is happening at that emotion phase, right? Like that is,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yep.
we can all agree that that's where we're starting to understand that something's going on here, right? Whether it be good, whether it be bad, but typically it doesn't clue in and generate awareness until we get to that emotion step. Now, what I want to teach you today is particularly in a stressful situation, and I'm going to paint this picture. Here's the way that it goes, right? Let's say, for example, I have an experience that growing up in general, I come to generate this belief that things will only be successful if I have control of the situation in order to ensure a win, right? So I'm going to use an example from this past week. My fiance and I were supposed to be going to Canada. We were on our way to furnish a home that we have there. And basically, I had everything within my control, right? We had the time frame planned, we had the truck packed. I'd called the border 3-4 times. I had all the information I thought I needed for us to get across the border. When we got there, it ultimately didn't end up working out. I was distraught. I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. My belief, and again, this is me identifying my belief after going through these phases that I'm going to run you through. But I was so disappointed. And so still trying to take control of the situation. We can get through, we can figure this out, we can make this happen, we can make this happen. Ultimately didn't end up working. Had to stop, had to take some time, had to process it, had to come up with a new plan, right? Very, very easily, I could have gone with my emotions, which were frustrated, which was, gosh, I was feeling like run the gamut of the emotions, right?
Yeah.
Feeling frustrated, feeling sad, feeling like, God, I spent so much time and energy really trying to push through, right? But instead, paused, took some time that I needed, and showed up in a different way. Because had I shown up out of that stress state, out of that frustration, I probably would have taken it out on the border agent, taken it out on my fiance, taken it out on anybody who wanted to be there for me, gotten super frustrated with myself. Instead, I chose a different reaction. And when you have the awareness at that emotion state, but you take the time to go back 2 steps in that phase that I was showing you earlier, to get back to that belief, this belief here, and make the decision from that point, as opposed from the emotion point, that's when we start to show up with higher energy. So how do we do this? That's the question. Does that make sense, Travis?
Yes. No, I live in the emotional reactive state. It's not a good life, because not only do I have absorbed my own emotions on overload, as an empath, I literally can get like secondhand anxiety from other people's situations. So if I could detach from the emotions and get it more calibrated in the belief stage, I feel like there's much more hope for me to take control, and actually turn it into something useful.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about how we do this, right? So what is our path to be able to do this? So let's use that same example here. All right, so get to the border, super frustrated. I've done everything in my power. So as I said, that step 1 is having that awareness, right? I had the awareness that I would be, that this was out of my control, right? If I continue to show up in a negative space, it's going to lead to not so great reaction, right? So step 1, generate that awareness. Step 2 is in that pause. I decided to pause, take a second, and this is where the magic happens. The magic is in that pause. The magic is generating this pause with a strategy. So what does that mean? For me, depending on the intensity of the situation, it changes, right? So if it's something that's not that's lower intensity, then oftentimes stepping away from the current place that I'm in and taking 10 deep breaths is a great strategy, right? Just reconnect. It often takes about 60 seconds. It's super quick. So that's my strategy. There are other times where if it's more intense, I may have to step away and relax and kind of meditate for 10 minutes. There could be high intensity situation where I may have to take the morning off or take an hour or whatever it may be to just process what it is that's going on. But that's that second step, and this is where the magic happens, and this is where we will all figure out what strategy it is works for us. Is in that pause. Step three is where we make a conscious choice in how we want to show up. So going back to this example, I was super frustrated, right? I had done everything within my power, everything within my control. It's not working out the way that I want it to. I could just react, like you said, Travis. So often we just live in that emotional reactive. I could just go off, get super frustrated, get upset, yell at everybody around me. But instead, when I paused, and this was one of those things I needed to take 10 minutes. Like 10 deep breaths was not going to work. This was medium intensity. So step away, take 10 minutes. I had the time to really just relax and figure out how I wanted to show up. I made the choice that, you know what, this is meant to be. There's something holding me back that will reveal itself to me that ultimately I'm not meant to do this right now. I'm not meant to do this. And so showing up in this level 5 space, knowing that every situation, there is something to be learned from, I was able to let go of my catabolic emotions. I was able to move in to a planful mindset. Right? I was able to start to operate from a more creative mindset. What we learned was had we crossed the border at the time we did, we would have had to spend over $10,000 in taxes. The border agent and said, do this differently, you'll save yourself $10,000.
Wow.
Ultimately, it ended up revealing itself to me, and it was like, great, I'll go back to the US for a couple days and save myself some money in taxes just by changing this one minor thing, right?
Wow.
And it's one of those things that once it revealed itself to me, I was like, I get it now. I totally get it. And that's the thing. I had to walk in with that trusting mindset. First I had to give myself the time. I had to pause, give myself the time to just come back down, to just relax. I made the choice to show up in that level 5 mindset that there's something to be learned from this situation. There's something to be gained from this situation. I don't know what it is right now. I know it will reveal itself to me, and I know I will figure out what it looks like. Ultimately, it ended up revealing itself to me. So that's where you get. That's how we get to the third step. That third step is in my choice, right?
Yep.
Awareness. Immediate reaction would have been level 2, frustration, anger, all that kind of stuff. But instead, I paused, made the decision to show up in level 5. Now, if we do these first 3 steps and don't take action, we still have nothing, right? We have a good mindset, but we don't have a strong action. And so the action I decided to take was to get creative, was to come up with a new plan, was to actually ask some questions about how I can be better prepared the next time, right? Instead of being super frustrated with the border agent who could have said, screw you, get out of my face, I'm not telling you anything. I was actually able to ask some really good questions and find out by doing this differently, I'm saving myself $10,000 just by showing up at a higher energy level, just by being kind to that border service agent. That was the difference. It was $10,000.
Wow.
Showing up out of frustration or showing up in that level 5 opportunity mindset.
No, and those opportunities are everywhere. That could be a business meeting, that could be an interview, that could be the most seemingly mundane interaction that can change your energy, change your level, and I think that's where that whatever it is, like we have this metaphysical connection or aura that we can read from people, and I think it's this being in that right energy zone that you mentioned. So applicable in so many ways.
Exactly. No, you're so spot on. And I know we all probably have a million examples of when we show up out of that emotional reaction or when we show up out of choice, out of higher consciousness. And so that last step, that 5th step, is potentially one of the most important steps, because it's what allows us to go back and reflect on what worked and what didn't work.
Mm.
Sometimes it takes a second. Sometimes you can say, you know what, those 10 deep breaths, that was super successful for me. I want to use it again. I want to use it again next time. Or you know what, maybe the situation was a little too intense. I need to do 3 minutes. I need to set my alarm for 3 minutes. And I need to just, find some space for those 3 minutes. Maybe, maybe we have to add something on top of those 10 deep breaths, right? Maybe I have a lot of clients who will snap a rubber band just to have a physical action that goes with it. For me, I combine actually moving out of the space that I'm in into a new space. So going into another room kind of
Yeah.
gets me out of the energy that I'm currently sitting in.
Ooh.
So sometimes that reflection takes a second. Sometimes we may have to go back and spend a little bit more time in that reflection. That didn't work, but I'm not fully sure why, right? Like, ask yourselves those difficult questions. Really get in touch. Why didn't it work? What can I do differently next time?
Totally.
So, Travis, would love to hear if there's anything going on. I know I asked you last time if you have any like sticky things going on that maybe we could try to apply something like this to.
The biggest piece that stood out last week was the idealization, or the ideal point of reaching non-judgment. I am an extremely judgmental person, but I also detach from that when the judgment is created. So I'll make the judgment, and then I realize it's something like, okay, I have no control, has nothing to do with me, and then I'm back to like my own little libertarian world of freedom where nothing else matters. But I feel like if there was a state of mind to not even to reach that non-judgment, it just felt like, whoa, I'm so not there when we were there last week. So I guess that would be an interesting piece to explore, is practices or habits to reach points of non-judgment or non-reactive, being less reactive to things,
Yeah.
rather than the current state is not at that stage at all.
Yeah.
So maybe something in that realm.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is the perfect solution for some of those types of things. Do you have a concrete example of maybe something you may have judged that, looking back on it, you wished you wouldn't have judged?
I have like mundane ones. We've gotten pretty judgmental and competitive with all our content, so I do notice moments of envy or jealousy, or sometimes like genuine rage when I see extremely lazy or not very thoughtful things rising to the surface and getting lots of intention, lots of amplification, and like more people are feeding into that vibe or that energy. For some reason, it arises as like, why? Why? It's like my inner George Carlin gets pulled to the surface of like, are you people all this stupid? Like, what's going on? Maybe not the greatest headspace to be in, but I find myself getting pulled towards it every once in a while.
No, and that is, I mean, Travis, that type of reaction is just human. I'd be lying if I told you I didn't have a similar reaction myself. So let's run through how we could use this for that. So step one, you already have the awareness, right? Like, you already have the awareness that when you see those types of things, you generally feel frustrated. And I think you even used the word rage at one point, right? Like, it makes you angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that being said, step one, done. Step two, next time you have the awareness that you're feeling frustrated, that you may be dipping into that level 2 energy, let's pick a strategy, right? Like, let's pick something that might feel right for you the next time this comes up.
Okay.
What would you want to try out?
The I like the concept of a different room, but the simplest one would be, I think, yeah, breathing break. Like honestly, it's just time, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Once it's been like a minute or something, it literally has nothing to do with my world or something that's more reactive. In like a client context, I feel like everything's always urgent,
Yeah.
or somebody's waiting on me. Taking that moment to detach, breathe, pace, walk around the house, and I'm like, oh nope, we still have several hours. They're not waiting on anything. Like you're good to go. But I think yeah, just anything that gives me that dose of time, which coincidentally was the that pause. I think you're mentioning
Exactly.
almost as an action in itself before you even
Exactly.
choose a specific reaction. The pause in itself is an action that I know I see value in.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. We combine this pause with a strategy, with an action, as you're calling it. So for you, next time this happens, maybe you try putting yourself, like going into another room. Maybe you said walking around is really important for you. Maybe you
Yeah.
take 10 deep breaths as you're walking back and forth in another room. So let's try
Okay.
that next time for your strategy, right? So you have this pause, you have a strategy. Typically 10 deep breaths is only 60 seconds. So it's super quick. And we always have that time for 60 seconds. At the end of the day, that 60 seconds is probably going to be one of those most powerful 60 seconds that has the power to make or break your day.
Mm,
So next time you're feeling that, we have a strategy, right? We're going to pause. We're going to go into another room, pace back and forth for 10 deep breaths. Come back, resume in a different way, see how you feel. Then you have a choice to make, right? So you have a choice to stay frustrated, or you have a choice to potentially see opportunity in it, right? What are they doing wrong that you could be better? But also, like you said, all these people are seeing something. Maybe I can look at it for an opportunity, right? Maybe I can try and figure out what people are seeing, what value people are seeing in it. Maybe there's something to be learned in this situation.
yeah.
That allows you to see it through a totally different lens. And then when you make that choice, you act upon it, right? Maybe you spend the next 60 seconds looking at the content. And instead of judging it, looking at it through that crazy person's eyes who's actually reacting to it in a
Yeah.
really positive, interested way, right? Like channel that person. What are they seeing? What are they seeing? And then go back and reflect on it. See how it made you feel, right?
Okay.
Did it have the
Yeah.
power to make or break your day?
Love it. Love it. No, I think so much of this is just the getting in the reps. I think the conditioning, because it's same exact way. I've noticed physical strength works. You let it go for a long time, you get thrown into something. It's way more intense versus the slow and steady buildup when you've been working out. Suddenly you feel more in shape. It's just getting those reps. As I see Luke Luke Matthews is mentioning, I hate meditation. I was just about to use the example. I notice on the days that I can meditate or do meditate, I get closer to that non-reactive
Yeah,
energy. So it's I think conditioning, but I haven't got to the point where that's literally a daily habit.
yeah,
So I feel like if that muscle was conditioned to the point of non-reaction, or at least where that's the default, and maybe it's just something really extreme that triggers the emotional reaction, it's continuous progress to
it
jump in.
is.
And,
It
um,
absolutely, it absolutely is. And you know, I'm hearing a lot. I'm looking at a lot of chatter in the chat about meditation, how difficult it is. It is. It's super hard. It is. What I do is I set 10 minutes a day, and that's it. I don't try to go for
10,
90
yeah.
minutes. I don't try to go for 20.
Dude, yeah. Oh my God.
That judgment. Who cares if you stop thinking about your breathing? Who cares? It's your time to you, right? There
Yeah.
doesn't need to be any judgment on it. I also saw
No.
somebody say, um, I saw somebody say that they weren't made to pause because of their DNA. I
Yeah.
have to say, every human being on earth was not made to pause.
Go,
Why
go,
would
go,
you
go,
do
go,
that?
react.
Yes. we are all typical reactors, and it's with this practice, it's with this awareness, it's with these strategies that we learn. It is a learned behavior that we have to practice in order to show up differently, in order to choose to show up differently, because choosing
Mm.
to react is also a choice.
No, and I mean, this is clearly, I'm seeing a comment here from Dana that this was a situation I used to be in. And I don't know, yeah, maybe Alyse, you have some insights on this, but essentially the judgment of the meditation begins. and then you,
Yeah.
and then it starts this downward cycle. And I know for me, mine is probably very similar to Luke's. Mine was around productivity. Mine was like around like why I'm literally wasting time doing nothing was kind of the original mindset. And then if I was pulled away from that, or there was a tiny thing about the meditation that reinforced that, I was like, yeah, yep, nope, this is dumb. See, and then like, let's wrap it up here. Let's wrap it up. Is there a way that we can break out of that conditioning, or what are those easier stepping stones before even getting to the 10-minute mark? Because I'm agree with you, like the 60, 90, like Zen Buddhist stuff is like a whole nother level to even consider right now. I can do like a 5-10 minute and like I'm good, but maybe what's the stage before even getting to that 5 or 10 minute meditation?
So first is acceptance of wanting to meditate. If we're in a place where we don't see the value in it, and it's just there's a lot of resistance to it, you're going to find resistance in your practice. So if you can change, again, remember we talked about those 5 steps, that our experiences create our beliefs, which create our thoughts, emotions, actions, and ultimately results. So if we can get back, we know that our emotion about meditation is frustration, annoyance. But if we can go back 2 steps and get in touch with what our belief, our core underlying belief about meditation is, that's where we can say, probably somewhere in there, I've found failure with meditation and I don't think I can be successful at it.
Mm.
If we're showing up to a meditation with that belief, driving our thoughts, emotions, of course, we're going to act in a non-meditative way. But if we can change that, if we can go back and change that belief and say, you know what, screw that. That's the past, right? Just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen again. I'm going to be super open-minded. I'm going to accept the fact that I am not going to be perfect in this meditation. I'm going to understand that, you know what, my mind's going to wander. But I'm going to also come back. I'm going to come back to focusing on my breath. I'm going to come back to that meditation space.
Yep.
This is a practice. It's called a meditation practice for a reason, because it's not perfect. It's practice.
Yep.
And so showing up with that mindset of I'm here to practice, I'm here to learn, then that's where we show up with that much more Zen mindset that I think we're referring to.
Love it. No, that's brilliant. I think a lot of people were resonating with that. So yeah, the core belief is honestly, yeah, it's the seed coming into any experience. And then I know once you add the psychology of bias confirmation, I'm sure it just gets messier and messier, because then you're wired to be like, see, told you so, told you this was dumb. Like, and then it just gets deeper and deeper. So yeah, plant a new seed, a new belief. Dana, Luke, I know you guys are pessimistic on the meditation right now, but I would love to challenge you on those beliefs. Because similar to Enrique, that some of the best days and most productive days, ideas, just clarity on self-awareness have been coming to me on days that I'm able to sneak in those meditations. So replant that seed and see where it takes y'all.
Yeah. Love it.
Love it.
Get in touch with that belief, right? Go back,
Amazing.
Go back to 2 steps and figure out what it is that's really driving the feelings there.
I love it. Well, we did crack the 30-minute mark. So everybody that is here, if you want to sneak in a question for Alyse, We have kind of just been making this an open Q&A style adventure, so we can open that up. And then, Alyse, I know you still have your screen share up. If you did need to go through anything on that, more than happy to run through any other relevant pieces of that. Otherwise, we can kind of jump into seeing if there was any specific things. Here we go. As always, just a second.
Gotta love the dogs.
The guest stars, our local guest stars here. So if anybody wants to sneak in a quick question, I'll see if anything is coming in. I see Enrique's mentioning the Wim Hof method. Are you familiar?
I did that last week. I have not.
Is he?
Yeah.
So I think it's a way to basically connect breathing exercises to awareness.
Okay.
Is I'm pretty sure the setup there, but I'm not entirely informed. Therese is asking, where can I get the pup chair? So really utilizing the Q&A here, folks.
Yep. Got it from Wayfair. Puppy, not from Wayfair.
Yeah, you only can buy children on Wayfair, no puppies. Let me see if there is anything else sneaking in here. If not, I believe we should be good to go. Decent amount of chatter around, the meditation realm. And addressing, I guess converting this awareness into action. So I know I have a personal game plan. Let me get this comment off here. See, what would be the most open-ended, I guess, practical homework or advice, like integrated actions for people that want to integrate this into their life? We understand the awareness pieces we went into last week, and now the 5 phases we tapped into here earlier. I'll bring them up here for you guys one more time. Is there any practical, I guess, like a go-to strategy that we can just put in our pocket as far as getting better at this? It's a continuous practice. How do we keep this top of mind and continue to improve so it doesn't just end today?
So with both this and this as well as meditation have been, I think, kind of our 2 core topics today. With both of these things, start small, right? Like, don't try to go out and apply this method on the most stressful thing that's happening in our lives. Mm-hmm. Because when we do that, we may not find success. And as a result, we are not generating credibility within ourselves. Now, if we start small on something like, my dog is barking in the corner on the middle of a call, I'm super annoyed, how can I show up in a different way? That's a great place to start. Something with a little bit less intensity. Same thing with meditation, as we were talking about. Don't start with the 20 or the 30 or the 90 minute. Start with a 2 or 3 minute meditation. Start small. So with all this work, my suggestion and my advice would be start small and build upon that.
Love it. Brilliant. No, this is continuous iterative progress. I know all of our prior episodes with Justin, it's just been exactly in that similar theme of like, you can't do all of this all at once. It's small decisions, small habits that are now stacking over and over one at a time. So that compounding piece is something I know for sure is worth getting there. So yeah, continued progress, start small. Luke is very skeptical still, but I'll work with you on that one, bro. we'll have a sidebar if necessary, but I think that's about it, unless anybody sneaks something in here. Thank you to everybody that's joined on LinkedIn. I see Jamal hung out with us for a little on YouTube, and most of the Twitch gang was rocking and rolling with us today, so thank you guys all for your support. Alyse is tagged in this post here on LinkedIn. Please connect with her as well as the Own It company. Justin and her are really changing lives and honestly changing the perspective of the coaching experience in a really cool and creative way, attaching it to data and numbers and stuff like this that you guys can see. So we will be having them back pretty soon. We'll be wrapping up. We'll be getting into some DNA results, getting nerdy on that, and then having some type of finale wrapping this all up together for basically an action item that you guys can all take with you. So everybody that's been a part of that journey, thank you so much. Whether you've joined all the episodes or you're just hopping in here for this one, we really appreciate it. So Alyse, is there anything from your world for people to connect with you, to connect with Own It, to get started? I know you guys have a bottomless pool of resources and ways that you can help people. Is there a starting point or a home base you wanna send anybody that's interested in connecting with you and Justin?
Absolutely. Best two places to start are one on our website, justownit.co, and on Instagram, which is at ownit10x.
Brilliant. So this is going to be the best way to tap into their world. I know I've been following a lot of their adventures and everything they're up to. So if you are really serious about stepping up and mastering this energy equation and stepping into an elite performance, elite level of maximizing every minute you got and every ounce of energy that you have, they are continuously optimizing that equation. And as you guys have hopefully seen throughout here, it's all boiled down to as simple and practical advice as possible so that it's not just a fire hose of jargon and acronyms and studies being thrown at you. I love the way you guys approach everything in that.
Thanks, Travis.
Awesome. Well, we will continue the adventures next week on another episode of Build a Beast. We'll be tapping into DNA and epigenetics, how our actual genetic makeup becomes a part of this equation as well. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, and we will catch you next week.